Hey guys, Joshua here. Today we're taking a look at the new mid-season mage update that's coming to League, which has loads of different changes coming through. Now, as you may be able to guess from the title, this is mostly to do with mages, but we're going to be taking a look at any of that stuff, not just yet at least. Right now what we're going to be looking at is all of the jungle changes that have come through. I'm going to be running them down and telling you what they mean. So if you're someone who is a little bit put off by change or just doesn't really want to read into it because you can't be arsed, you're too lazy, this is the video for you. I want to apologise as well if there's not too much interesting footage going on in the background. It might be a little boring to look at. I do apologise, just look at my face. I'll perform the rest of this video in dance so that it's more interesting to look at, because chances are, you know, when the PB hits, for English people it's like midnight, and I should really stop that. It's not really enough time to get footage as well. I'll just continue with the video. So the first change, and probably the biggest one, the one you care about the most, is Devourer has been removed and there is a new jungle item called the Blood Razor. So what they've done is they've removed Devourer completely. Devourer is now gone and it has been replaced with this Blood Razor. Very similar items, they fill the same hole, they just do different things. What Blood Razor does that Devourer didn't do is that it doesn't have any kind of stacking element to it whatsoever. When you buy Blood Razor, you get 3% of a target's maximum health as physical on-hit damage. Honestly, the on-hit damage is fairly similar. Big difference though is that Sated had that phantom hit, which allowed you to get more on hits off. Blood Razor does not have that. However, Blood Razor also has the capability to scale harder, especially against tanks, which is what it's all about. Just as like a general overall, the Blood Razor is slightly weaker than the Devourer, or the Sated Devourer specifically, although you don't have to stack it. However, against tanks, it is better. So the next big change is the camp spawn timers. What this is that 60 seconds, 1 minute before a camp is about to respawn, it will have a little icon on the minimap that everyone can see, regardless of whether or not they had vision of the camp dying. Now bear in mind this is very preliminary, I can never say that word, preliminary, that's the one. So this may change a little bit, but as is right now, everyone sees when either Baron, Dragon, your buffs, whatever it is, they can always see when it's respawning. Personally, I'm not really a fan of this change. To me, it kind of promotes less organized or less structured play. It kind of promotes laziness a little bit as well. If you've actually made a point to know when these things are respawning, to counter jungle efficiently, to get good vision down, you're not really rewarded for it in the same sense, because now the enemy team also gets that stuff as well. Knowledge that you put effort into obtaining is now also readily made available for people who didn't put the effort in. And that, personally, that's not really what I like. However, having said that, I also didn't really like the jungle changes, the jungle timer changes that were released a little while back, but honestly that didn't have a negative effect on the game at all. So maybe this stuff will be fine as well, who knows. The last change I want to talk about here is with the Rift Herald. Now this has been changed a little bit to be more of a big boy boss than it was before. The Rift Herald now is much harder to kill, but when you do kill it you get a permanent buff. Well, not permanent, you get a very long lasting buff. It lasts for 20 minutes and even persists through your death. The old Rift Herald buff has been removed and the new one is slightly different. It just makes you better in 1v1 situations or when you're by yourself. The new buff gives you a stack that goes up to 100 stacks when you're attacking, and then at that 100th stack you do extra damage. Now this works against champions, minions, towers, whatever you want. I think this is going to be quite good for snowbally gameplay. If you're ahead and you get that Rift Herald buff, then you can really put pressure on people. And I also think it kind of stops that scaling tankiness that we have right now in the game. Right now you can be against a tank, you can stop them in lane, and then they just buy their Sunfire Cape, their Ice Bomb Gauntlet, and then they just start stomping you regardless. But that's really all I want to say right here for these changes. There were some slight changes as well to the red buff. The blue buff as well had some slight changes to it. And the jungle experience had some minor changes, but really all these things work in the same way as they do currently, so I didn't really want to cover them. You can read about them in the description down below, just a bit more detail if you fancy. Outside of that though, there were some huge dragon changes now, like ridiculous changes. There's now elemental dragons and elder dragons and all that crazy malarkey, but you know, I want to do a separate video for that, so I'm not going to talk about that in this video. I'm going to do that later, and yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. So that's all the important changes covered for the jungle. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, what you think about these changes. Do you think they're good changes? Are they bad changes? Would you like to maybe tweak some things? Personally, I would like to make it so that the jungle timers on the buff camps or whatever it is, if you didn't have vision of it going down, you shouldn't get the timer of it respawning. That's my personal change that I'd like, but I want to hear your opinions as well. If you did like this video, don't forget to leave it a thumbs up and subscribe to me for more educational League content. You can find me on Facebook, on Twitter, and catch me streaming over at twitch.tv/foxshop. But most importantly guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you in my next video.